Hi guys, welcome to my new channel, Primal Football. What we're going to look at on this channel is basically everything football, from domestic, international, scandals, looking at even some top 10, some sort of history of the game, and also obviously starting, no better place to start obviously in the upcoming Euro 2020 tournament. So what I want to kick off with is just looking at the first couple of groups. I'm going to be going through Group A, Group B, looking at squads, looking at the odds, everything really, making my predictions. So for that, I've actually done some group predictions here. So what I want to do is, I'm not necessarily going to go through the actual scores too greatly. What I've just tried to do is simulate the group. I mean, it's hard enough actually picking the winner of the game, let alone getting the score right every time. So that's not what I'm focused on. But what I've tried to do is build something what I think the end table will look like, and then we go from there. So we're going to look at the squad. So let's start with a makeup of Group A. So clearly, as even per my prediction, Italy are the favourites of the group. Qualifying was absolutely sensational. I think they scored 38 goals, conceding very, very few. Completely, they won literally every game in qualifying. Mancini's record is absolutely phenomenal since he's took over Italy, and obviously had the almost the embarrassment for them of not making the last World Cup, which is unheard of for Italy. So I say they've rebuilt, but in fairness, they've kept a lot of their really experienced spine there, and he's just got it ticking, really. I mean, I wouldn't say there's necessarily been a complete overhaul. There didn't need to be. So if we just look at we'll go through their squad in a little bit, but then we're also looking at Turkey, who I've had to come second in the group. And the reason I've called out Turkey, I just think you hear me say this a couple of times during these videos, but I actually make them a pretty dark horse of the tournament. I mean, I was super impressed by Yilmaz up front for Lille. They've got, we'll go for their squad, but they've got some really, really good players, and I see them just upsetting a few teams during this, and yeah, I've got them there to come second in the group. Again, ignore the points there on the right hand side, because we've got Switzerland here to finish bottom without a point. I don't think they'll finish with no points. I just think they're actually not as strong as they've been in other tournaments, but they've pretty much underachieved. I remember they went out to a couple of World Cups ago, when they pushed Argentina really close in the last 16 game, but I actually feel, if anything, they've declined a little bit since then. I think Xherdan Shaqiri never necessarily hit the heights he could have done. He's a very, very, very competent player, and he's got a crazy left foot on him. But him aside, we'll go through their squad, and there are some good names there, but I just think that, as I said, I think they're on a bit of a downward ebb. So I've actually had them to come bottom, because I just think the spirit of Wales will really push on. They've got the problems in the backroom staff, obviously, with everything that's happened to Ryan Giggs, where so that's obviously has upset the preparation a little bit. But I think effectively you've got a team there, obviously driven on by Gareth Bale, Ramsey, and they haven't got the depth. But we'll go through their squads now. But they're I think I fancy them to sneak into third place, and then once they're in a knockout football, anything happens. I mean, as I said, let's start with the Italians. And I know obviously they haven't got the great Buffon in goal anymore, but they certainly got Donnarumma, very, very solid. Even Sirigu is a good goalkeeper at Torino. The main two at the back, obviously, I know Bastoni's been had a great season at Inter. I'm sure he's going to feature. But Bonucci and Chiellini, I mean, they're not getting any younger, but Chiellini in particular, I think, has been one of the best defenders of the last 15 years. It's solid. They've got Florenzi at fullback. It's a decent side. I mean, Atlanta's Rafael Toilo had a good season. So, let's be honest, at the back, Italy have rarely had a poor defence, and they certainly haven't got a poor defence this time. Mancini's got them tight at the back, and they just keep winning. They scored the second most goals in qualifying, only beaten by Belgium. Belgium had the helping hand of playing San Marino, shipping countless goals. But so that's the back line for Italy. Then going further forward, you got Jorginho at Chelsea, obviously very strong. Verratti's a class little player at Paris Saint-Germain, and then you got the others. The Barella's solid, Cristante, Pellegrini. I've seen a bit less of Sensi actually at Inter, but point being, it's going to be a solid midfield. I think going forward, where they potentially got a little bit of a problem, potentially. I mean, Belotti's very strong at Torino. He's but I say strong. He's more like a 12-goal season, 15-goal season sort of guy. So he's not necessarily going to be relied upon for a full load of goals. You'd imagine Ciro Immobile's their main man at Lazio, being excellent, great player. Isn't an out-and-out goal scorer, comes in a bit deeper. I've got to be honest, you'd say he compares a little bit to sort of Harry Kane the way he plays, just without the goals that Kane sort of completely offers. Lisbon's he isn't as good as Harry Kane, but they got this little genius Lorenzo Insigne causing all kinds of problems. So I think he'll be their main creator, along with the guys deeper in midfield. And then Federico Chiesa, son of the great Enrico, could have had a better season at Juventus. Bits I saw him, there were certainly some flashes, and he was solid at times. Tough when you're playing the team Ronaldo and Dybala and things, to get that consistency. But really promising, good youngster. So I think they're 11, 12 to 1 to win the tournament. With a backline like that and the group they've been handed. I think they're sound. Looking at Switzerland, some are. We're not going to go through all their teams. Especially some of the I've called out Shaqiri. As I said, my points are. I'm not a fan of Granit Xhaka. Don't think he's great. I think Mbolo is very physical and decent up front, but I think that's all he is. It's decent. I said I think these guys are on the decline. Akanji at the back again is one to call out, but again, I'm going to say it, I actually fancy them to finish bottom of the group. Many could easily disagree. This is only my opinion. I could easily be wrong. No, my prediction goes they probably win 9 out of 9 points and go on to make the semi-finals. But I just got a feeling they're going to come bottom of this group. And as I mentioned before, I think Turkey a real dark horse. I'm going to call out obviously Soyuncu back for Leicester. I'm talking about the ones I've seen more of. But obviously the main man up front, Yilmaz. I think he's going to guarantee him goals. Really dangerous. And they've got Unda, who's very, very promising. And obviously they've got one thing that we see a load of in these tournaments is a lot of goals from set pieces. And Hakan Çalhanoğlu at AC Milan, they're not many dead ball specialists at the tournament. So that really sets them in good stead. And then finally we come to Wales. As I said, they certainly haven't got the strength in depth. They're not a big nation, obviously. They're a rugby nation, but they've got Ben Davies. Hennessy's been in goal for years. He's going to be solid enough for them. So there's good points here. They've got Chris Mepham has been doing it for years at Bournemouth. Williams at Liverpool. That came in and played more than he expected last year. Then going further forward, I mean, again, it does worry you a little bit when you see the likes of Joe Allen starting, because you think, has he still got the legs? But David Brooks. And obviously, let's call out the main players here. You've got Harry Wilson solid, but then you've massively got Aaron Ramsey. Going forward, you've got Daniel James, who will start for this team, who is desperately fast. It's crazy pace, who can unlock any defence really. And obviously, with the experience and leadership of Gareth Bale, who has actually finished the season much better at Tottenham. Especially when he puts on the Wales shirt, I think Wales even comes above goal for him. So he's at the races. And I'm a fan in the Championship myself, and I've been a fan of Kiefer Moore. So I actually fancy Wales to just sneak into third and hopefully get through on that crazy, if they're one of the fourth best runners-up or third places. I think they are going to make the knockout football and see where they go from there. Now, if we look at the odds of some of this, yes, I've said Italy are going to win the group, and I wouldn't say there's any value there at nearly 1 to 2 on. Anything can happen. I suppose the only thing I'd potentially look at is I've mentioned there Turkey. I'm not saying to win the group, but if you actually did a straight forecast where you have Italy to win the group, Turkey to come second, you're looking at 3 to 1, 7 to 2. Is that a bad bet? I think that's solid. I think 7 to 2 for that outcome, which I think is very, very reasonable and possible. The only thing that puts me off is that they play each other first. And I think the third, we saw it in the last Euros, with this third place team, sometimes teams are quite happy to settle for draws and it can actually become very uncompetitive, which is a real shame we're not at a 16 team tournament, because I really think that really takes the dairy off some of the last fixtures. So that would be the only thing that concerns me with Turkey coming first. If they do lose their first game to Italy, they are pretty much going to need to probably get 6 points out of 6, which I actually fancy them to do. But they've got a tough start, which you'd like to avoid in this format, really. And I think playing Italy last is exactly where you want to be. And I think that really plays into Wales' hands. That's why I've had them to draw. I think, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty right in saying it was either Northern Ireland or Republic of Ireland actually drew with Italy in their last game of the Euros last time. Again, purely because Italy had already qualified, and it was just the classic case of it suited both teams just to play out a draw. And I think we could see more of that this time, and that's why I'm calling that out really. Let's move quickly on to Group B. So again, I don't want to keep using this term dark horse, but I actually have Denmark down as a dark horse for this tournament. I think they've got a very solid team, great goalkeeper. We'll come to their squad. Obviously, the standout team is Belgium. They've got some of the world's very best players. Kevin De Bruyne arguably is, apart from obviously the Messi's, Ronaldo's, you could easily argue that De Bruyne is the best of the rest. He's a fantastic player. But I fancy Denmark to be the second team. Russia, I've got to be honest, I don't know as much about them as I should. They've got so many other players playing domestically. I recognise the names, but I don't see it being a strong Russia team. Look at their team's performances in Europe. It hasn't been great for a while. I really don't fancy them. And obviously, Finland are rank outsiders, and we'll come to their squads now actually, and just go through some of the. Obviously, I'm not going to bother saying, Courtois is a great goalkeeper, but I would call out the defence being the weakest point. Alderweireld, yes, he's had a decent enough season for Tottenham, but he's not getting any younger. Jan Vertonghen certainly not getting any younger. Was obviously released by Tottenham last year. Thomas Vermaelen again, complete the same. Jason Denier, he's very, he's got the right physical attributes, but I don't think, I do watch a bit of French football, and he doesn't ever strike me as being, he'd be alright as the second best defender, but with them around him, I think you'd like to have a defender who's a little bit better. Castan's obviously great at Leicester, really good fullback there. But as I said, you then look at the rest of them. You've got Tielemans, Witsel, Yannick Carrasco on the wings, obviously a fantastic player. This is a very strong team. And obviously, De Bruyne will be in the pick of the bunch. And if they could somehow start seeing some of the best of Eden Hazard, he's been horrific at Real Madrid. His injuries have played its part. But if they could get him back, it's a bit ridiculous to see Batshuayi and Benteke in this squad. However, in fairness to Benteke, finished the season a little better. Dries Mertens is fantastic, and Lukaku, I'm pretty certain he won the Golden Boot in Italy. I'm really sure of that, even scoring more than Ronaldo this season. On fire, obviously a huge presence up there, so fast. They're the favourites of this group and one of the favourites of the tournament for an absolute reason. I fancy them to win this group. I said Denmark I fancy as being a bit of a dark horse. They're going to cause people problems just simply because they're strong now. They've got Kasper Schmeichel, one of the leading goalkeepers this tournament. You've got Simon Kjaer at AC Milan, who's done it for years. Christensen, obviously, at Chelsea. Some of the domestic players, obviously, I've got to be honest, I don't know as much about. And Vestergaard was good at times for Southampton. Solid. But then if you look in their midfield, this is where I think they're the strongest. They've got Højbjerg, Thomas Delaney, who's excellent, and obviously Christian Eriksen's, I think I mentioned dead balls before. He's obviously right up there with all of them as well. Absolutely class. I suppose they need the guys from midfield to contribute a little bit going forward, because looking at where the goals can come from, you see Barcelona and then next to Braithwaite, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's necessarily a Barcelona player or even a Middlesbrough player for that fact. So, again, I don't know the tons about something. I've seen Dolbo play a number of times. Again, a presence, but it's not ideal for a leading line. But point being, really good back line, really, really strong midfield, and I see them really causing problems. And finally, Finland here, they are the weakest team in the group. I mean, they've got obviously Teemu Pukki, who does it for Norwich. Yeah, again, he's going to be a goal threat, but top defenders shouldn't have a huge problem against him. But he's strong enough. Yeah, but it says it already when you've got the likes of Bristol Rovers players, and that's no offence to them, obviously. But you effectively got Bristol Rovers players who are now in the bottom tier of English football. So it shows that they lack the depth. They're there for a reason. They've gone through. They've come through qualifying. It's good to have teams like Finland in the tournament. That's the sort of plus of having 24 teams. I suppose it does get more of these teams in there. It's good for them, and obviously their football growth back home. So, but do I fancy them to even challenge in this group? I really don't. I fancy them to really be at the bottom, fighting out for the wooden spoon with Russia. Again, I've mentioned they had all their domestic players. I Mario Fernandes to call out as been going for years, and I know they've got Golovin, who is at Monaco, who's I remember had a really strong tournament a couple of tournaments ago. Strong player, and Zuber up front. These are players who I've seen, and Sobolev even. But they're all domestic. Are they going to be good enough to really change? I don't think it's a particularly strong Russia team. So if we go back to the predictions here, that's why I've had Russia to finish third. Again, it's a bit of ignore the points a little bit. The point being, I think Denmark are definitely going to finish second, Belgium first. And let's see if we have a quick look at the betting. This is a bit more of an interesting betting market where Denmark are considered a quite strong team. If we have a quick look here at Group B winner, I would say if that was available at 4 to 5 for Belgium. I mean, you look at doubling things up. If you had sort of Belgium and Italy as a double to both win their group, suddenly that is quite a strong bet. I actually think 4 to 5 is a quite a big price for them, really. Denmark are quite rightly sort of second favourites at 5 to 2. You can probably get a little bit more out there. But yeah, and actually, I actually think Russia are poor value, even at 11 to 2. Again, I'm probably going to be eating my words soon, and they probably go and win the group. But I really don't fancy them to challenge, and quite rightly feeling the big outsiders. So there's my predictions. You've seen that there's no massive surprises here, but I do fancy it to be Italy and Turkey and Belgium and Denmark, and then actually I think Wales will always give a good account of themselves. So that's my predictions for groups A and B. What I'll be doing over the coming days, I'll definitely be doing C, D, and then getting into the final groups, pulling it together. Then we'll obviously then go through where we think teams will finish. We'll certainly focus on England a little bit. We'll look at their squad and call out any other bits of value. We're looking at top goal scorers, all those pieces. But yeah, really good to start the channel. And Football Primal, thank you very much.